Hamilton is already prepared and ready for next season. Sergio's performance in the next race will be vital for next season, and Carlos 100% backs his move to Williams. Do consider subscribing. Let's get into the latest F1 news. Lewis Hamilton, the renowned Formula One driver, is apparently already emotionally and mentally focused on joining Ferrari, according to Jacques Villeneuve. This statement comes ahead of Hamilton's anticipated move to the iconic team based in Maranello in 2025. Ever since his victory at Silverstone, Hamilton has not managed to secure a position higher than 4th place in any subsequent races. His recent performance finishing in 10th place at Sao Paulo, especially when compared to the impressive 4th place finish of his teammate George Russell, has led many fans and analysts to question whether the 7-time world champion is still able to compete at the highest level. In light of these observations, Villeneuve has come to Hamilton's defense, yet he also suggested that Hamilton's thoughts and feelings might already be directed towards a future with Ferrari. Villeneuve expressed confidence in Hamilton's abilities, stating that he still possesses the skill to succeed. He emphasized that just because Hamilton is facing challenges with Mercedes at this moment does not imply that he has lost his talent or his drive. Villeneuve articulated this perspective clearly when he said that Hamilton likely recognizes that winning the championship with Mercedes this year is not a realistic expectation. While he might have the chance to win a race or two, the championship feels out of reach. He questioned why Hamilton would invest so much energy into developing the car and building the team for someone else's benefit when he knows his time with Mercedes is limited. According to Villeneuve, Hamilton is merely completing his contract at this stage. There has been some discussion about whether Hamilton's recent performances might be damaging his legacy in the sport. Villeneuve dismissed this concern, asserting that if Hamilton were to win a championship title with Ferrari, it would elevate him to the status of the greatest driver in the history of Formula One. Villeneuve argued that achieving victory with Ferrari would be the next logical step for Hamilton if he aims to be recognized as the best ever. He pointed out that winning more titles with Mercedes might not have the same significance or lasting impact. In contrast, a victory with Ferrari would hold tremendous value, especially in light of all that Hamilton has accomplished throughout his career. When Hamilton initially joined Mercedes, Villeneuve noted that the situation was drastically different from what it is today. There was uncertainty surrounding the team's future, and Hamilton was taking a significant risk by making that change. People questioned his decision at the time, asking if he was making a foolish move. However, that gamble paid off as he went on to achieve remarkable success with Mercedes. As for his future with Ferrari, Villeneuve reminded fans that the current state of the Ferrari team is far more promising than it was when Hamilton decided to make the switch. He highlighted that Ferrari is an enormous name in the motorsport world and that Lewis Hamilton is also one of the biggest figures in the sport. The excitement surrounding a potential partnership between the two giants is palpable, and Villeneuve pointed out that Ferrari's shares have been on the rise, indicating the combined potential of Hamilton and the team. If Hamilton were to secure victories with Ferrari, it would not only solidify his status, but also make him virtually unbeatable in the history of Formula One. Such an achievement would be a clear way to cement his legacy forever. For Hamilton, winning with Ferrari could be the pinnacle of his career, the one step needed to elevate him to a level of unmatched greatness. On the other hand, Villeneuve also acknowledged that should Hamilton not win with Ferrari, he would still retain all his impressive records. Nonetheless, securing a championship title with the legendary team would represent the ultimate achievement and would certainly be worth the gamble in his pursuit of becoming the greatest driver ever in the sport. Jos Verstappen says the F1 calendar has reached the point of saturation and is taking the fun out, a sentiment shared by Max Verstappen. The F1 2024 calendar is the busiest ever in the history of the sport, with 24 Grand Prix weekends taking the sport across the globe, including multiple double headers and a number of triple headers. On top of the 24 Grand Prix is the fact that F1 has also introduced the sprint format, which in 2024 has been scheduled at 6 weekends. This adds a further 6 short races onto this number, meaning the drivers are taking part in 30 races across the year. Even at 24, this represents a 50% increase since Jos Verstappen's time in F1, and the Dutch driver believes the point has been reached where the ever-expanding calendar is sapping the fun out of the job for the drivers. Speaking in a column for the Verstappen official website, he said he believes the long season and constant commitments can be overwhelming. I can tell that the number of races in Formula One is becoming too much for many drivers, Max included, Verstappen Sr. said. He's always been very outspoken about it. I think eventually it does take the fun out of it. When I started, there were only about 16 or 17 races. Now, there are 24, and you can feel it with everyone, mechanics included, who are always on the road.
Max is away even more because he also has to do simulator work and sponsor commitments. You can imagine how often he's away from home.
Three-time F1 world champion Max Verstappen may be at the top of Formula One in recent years, enjoying plenty of success, but the Dutch driver has spoken on numerous occasions about the number of races. "It's too many for me, at least," he told media, including PlanetF1.com, ahead of last year's British Grand Prix. "We just have to deal with it. I think it's a bit more logical the way it's planned, at least, so I guess that's better for everyone." The F1 calendar expansion has come about by way of the sport's growing popularity, which has resulted in numerous new markets and territories seeking races. With a growing interest in the United States and the expansion of racing in the Middle East, it has led to a calendar bursting at the seams, meaning that rotation of the more traditional venues in Europe is likely to occur. Speaking earlier this season, Verstappen reiterated his point, saying, "From my side, I've said it before, this is not sustainable. I love racing a lot and I do it a lot also outside of Formula One. But if people in the sport start shortening their careers because it's too much, I think that's a shame, and so hopefully, of course, we can have a look at that for the future." Verstappen isn't the only world champion complaining, with Fernando Alonso backing up the Dutch driver. "When I started, we had 16 races, then it was 18 at some point. And then I think when Liberty Media came, it was like a message that we have 21 season, and that was absolutely the limit. 20 races," the Aston Martin driver said. "And now we are up to 24, and this is not sustainable for the future. Even the world champion thinks this is a little bit long this season. Imagine for the rest of us, we go to the races in the second half for nothing. There is no incentive to fight for anything." But the complaints haven't been met with a great reception by F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali, who told The Telegraph earlier this year that, "I think it's good that Max gives his opinion, but we can't leave the sport in the hands of the drivers. Their goal is to go as fast as possible, but we as an organization are in charge of doing what is best for the sport. And we have done so in recent years, otherwise we would not be in this position. As you can see, MotoGP and other sports are also abandoning the traditional approach, and we were the first to do so." Carlos Sainz shared that his father firmly believes that Audi will develop into a strong competitor in Formula One. However, Sainz maintains his decision to join Williams instead. As Sainz approached the start of the F1 2024 season, he understood that finding a new team for the next season was essential due to Ferrari's intention to bring in 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton to take his place starting in 2025. Initially, many rumors connected Sainz to the Audi F1 initiative, particularly as the renowned German manufacturer is preparing to transform the Sauber team into its official F1 Works team by the time the new regulations are implemented in 2026. Sainz's father, the famed rally driver Carlos Sr., it has a rich history with the Audi brand, as he recently secured the victory in the 2024 Dakar Rally, driving for them in what marked their final participation. Despite his father's strong confidence that Audi will eventually succeed in Formula One, Sainz made the decision to join Williams, a team currently led by Principal James Vowles. This project convinced Sainz that Williams was the right choice for him. It was a challenging decision to make. Until the very day I put pen to paper, I had several excellent opportunities to consider, Sainz explained in an interview with Automotor on Sport. In the end, I had to trust my instincts. I hold the Audi brand in the highest regard. My father has repeatedly told me how promising their future looks. He is completely convinced that Audi will emerge as a formidable force in the sport. While I had the desire to contribute to building something great, I was also keen on achieving positive results right away. To me, Williams represented the best choice in this regard. I still believe I made the right call. Only time will show whether my choice was indeed correct. However, my intuition was clear that teaming up with James Vowles would provide the best path forward in both the short and medium term. When asked about his father's involvement in his racing career these days, Sainz responded, "He remains my greatest supporter, and I know I can always count on his guidance. However, he only comes around when I really need him, which is much less frequent than it used to be. This has gradually reduced over the years. Yet, during significant moments like after the Singapore race, I still reach out to him for his insights. We have open discussions about what has happened. One of my father's greatest qualities is his honesty. When he's not at the racetrack as often, he tends to have a broader perspective on things. This outside view can be quite useful because there are times when I am so immersed in my own situation that I miss the bigger picture, and he can provide that clarity. Before finally signing with Williams, Sainz was rumored to be in talks with nearly every team on the F1 grid, including powerhouse teams like Red Bull and Mercedes. He openly admitted that it was difficult for him to be passed over by those leading teams. I've managed to find peace with that situation, and I truly believe that if I'm not being selected by those teams, it's simply because that's not where I'm meant to be at this time. I trust that there are better opportunities ahead for me, Sainz shared with Sky F1. It was painful at first, and we all have our egos. I have a driver's ego too, and during that time I found it hard to comprehend the decisions being made. Even now, there are still selections that I struggle to understand completely, but at the same time, it only serves to fuel my determination. It makes me even more enthusiastic about my commitment to Williams. Williams is the team that has chosen to invest in me. They have been supportive from the very start. They were the ones who approached me a full year ago, and that genuinely excites me. I expressed to them that I want to reciprocate their faith in me and the trust they have shown. I am eager to go there and collaborate with them to build something truly special. Max Verstappen's personality may cloud an observer's judgment of the facts of his brilliance, believes David Coulthard. The Dutch driver is en route to his 4th World Championship title in F1 2024, with his Brazilian GP victory handing him all the momentum as the sport descends upon Las Vegas this weekend. Verstappen won the race at Interlagos, having started from 17th place on the grid due to an engine penalty, while title rival Lando Norris started from pole. However, Verstappen's early laps quickly brought him into contention for the victory, and thanks to Red Bull pulling a strategy masterstroke by staying out on track as the rain intensity increased, Verstappen ended up ahead of Norris when the inevitable red flag was shown. With Verstappen taking the restart from 2nd, with Norris in 4th, the Dutch driver overtook race leader Esteban Ocon and streaked away to a near 20-second win at the checkered flag, while Norris made an error at turn 1 to slip down to 6th place. The result all but ended the drivers' championship fight, with Verstappen only needing to finish in the top 2 in Las Vegas this weekend to clinch his 4th consecutive title. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing for Verstappen, whose defensive approach in recent races, due to a less competitive RB20 under him, resulted in strong criticism due to his aggression. But Verstappen wasn't cowed by the criticism, pointing to his experience as a 3-time F1 world champion as all the knowledge he needs to equip himself best for the title challenge. As a driver who divides the fandoms due to his self-belief and willingness to engage in aggressive driving on track, did Verstappen's dominance in Brazil silence the critics and vindicate his take-no-prisoners attitude? F1 Grand Prix winner turned TV broadcaster David Coulthard believes Verstappen's controversies are no more than other drivers who can be considered the greatest in the sport, and that any individual's failure to recognize Verstappen's brilliance points to prejudice. I'm just a fan of the sport, and therefore I've got a wee bit experience of the driving, Coulthard told PlanetF1.com at the Red Bull showrun in Galway, Ireland last weekend. I've done a little bit of winning, and I've done a lot of losing, and I've observed some brilliant drivers over my time in and out. But it amazes me that just because someone maybe doesn't like him as a person, therefore that clouds their judgment on the facts. The facts are, the guy is brilliant, he's brilliantly fast. Yes, he's controversial, but Ayrton Senna was controversial. Michael Schumacher was controversial. I'm not really sure there's ever been an uncontroversial, very successful person in Formula One. Maybe if you go back to the 1960s and 70s, when they literally were taking their lives in their hands. But as old as I am, I wasn't around at that time, so I can't make a judgment on it. So his drive in Brazil was a lesson to all the other drivers. It was on another level. So if somebody can't acknowledge that and go, that was brilliant, then they have a problem. They have a prejudice problem, which is what causes so many problems in the world, doesn't it? With Lando Norris's first championship challenge all but over with 3 races left in the season, the British driver has had a steep learning curve to come to terms with the level of consistency and performance expected of him, and also just how hard a battle it can be with a rival driver unwilling to cede an inch. I think that Lando is a brilliantly fast race driver, Coulthard said. He's someone that I've known since he was a kid. I like Lando, but he's learning what it is to be at the front line of people who define what's acceptable. Michael was a better driver than me, but obviously he was a competitor. I had to try and beat him. There were times I thought he went the wrong side of the sporting line. But if the referee says it's fine, you either use energy and time complaining about it, or you go, okay, that's now defining what the rules are. Let's move forward on that basis. Sergio Perez has admitted he is aware that he needs to perform at this weekend's Las Vegas Grand Prix amid mounting speculation over his Red Bull seat for F1 2025. It comes after suggestions that Williams driver Franco Colapinto has agreed a deal to join the Red Bull family from next season. Despite signing a new 2-year contract as recently as June, Perez has found his seat coming under mounting threat as a disastrous F1 2024 season has unfolded. The Mexican remains without a podium finish since the Chinese Grand Prix in April and currently trails teammate Max Verstappen by 242 points in the drivers' standings. PlanetF1.com revealed over the Brazilian Grand Prix weekend that Red Bull team principal Christian Horner met with Williams boss James Vowles at Interlagos over a deal to sign Colapinto, who has impressed since replacing Logan Sargent in late August. It came after Helmut Marko, the long-serving Red Bull advisor, indicated that a final decision on Perez's future is to be made after the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix next month. Former F1 driver Ralf Schumacher claimed last week that a pretty big deal for Red Bull to sign Colapinto is now fixed, with the team still to decide whether the Argentine will replace Perez or slot in at junior outfit V-Carb for F1 2025. Schumacher went on to suggest that Red Bull's very strong interest in Colapinto has extended to the highest level at Red Bull, even going beyond Marko's sphere of influence. It has previously been suggested that Marko has been reluctant to place Colapinto at the senior team for F1 2025, with Horner pushing for the 21-year-old to replace Perez as Verstappen's teammate. Speaking ahead of the Las Vegas GP, Perez, a street circuit specialist having triumphed in Saudi Arabia, Monaco, Baku, and Singapore during his Red Bull career, admitted that he needs to maximize his own performance in Nevada. And he claimed his poor result in Brazil, where he failed to reach Q3 in qualifying for both the sprint and main races despite receiving a new chassis, masked the progress he has made recently. He said, "For me, it's a track I enjoy. I like the street circuit experience, with the walls in tight, and you cannot compare to driving down the strip or towards the sphere towering over you. While it's a spectacle of a race, for everyone attending and watching back home, it's one where I know I need to perform and maximize this car and my own performance. I've been working with the team and feel Sao Paulo was much more competitive than we were able to show, so let's put it together for the last 3 races." Verstappen, who won the inaugural Las Vegas GP last year, is on the brink of securing a 4th straight F1 title, currently holding a 62-point lead over McLaren driver Lando Norris entering the final triple header. A latest title triumph would see the 27-year-old become only the 2nd driver in F1 history after Red Bull icon Sebastian Vettel to win his first 4 world championships in successive years. Perez, who finished 3rd in Vegas last year after losing 2nd place to Ferrari's Charles Leclerc at the last corner of the last lap, added that teams will be more prepared for the challenges of the tricky street circuit this year. He said, "We are coming into a very important weekend in Las Vegas for the team. This race last year was such an unknown. It was a brand new race, it was a new surface to us all, and we were in temperatures we never usually race in. We barely had any data in 2023, so this year we are approaching this street circuit with a lot more information and understanding. Thanks for watching, I'll see you around."